Hey all you lovely people, I'm Cameron. Welcome to the channel and to today's video. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope you're doing okay. I'm actually doing pretty good. I started off today with some homemade pancakes, so that really set me off in the right direction for the rest of the day and brought me to you here now in a pretty good spot. I'm really excited for today's video because I want to walk you through the handful of tips and bonuses that I took away from my experience from beauty school and becoming a certified makeup artist. Before I get to my list of the 5 main things that I took away, I do want to make just a few disclaimers. The first is that I don't necessarily think that there's a difference between someone who learned how to do makeup on Instagram and does makeup on themselves and does like full glam, full beat, than the person who's done celebrity makeup for the past 30 years and does really fresh, clean skin and like no makeup. I think there's space for everybody in the makeup artist community. As I've experienced more in this space, I realize that there are some people who don't necessarily agree with me. It's usually the more seasoned people who are like, oh, all of these Insta makeup artists, all these Insta beauties are calling themselves makeup artists. And I'm like, yeah, what do you think they do? So I just want to set the record straight from where I stand. Yes, we all have different experiences, we all have different skill sets, but I think they're applicable in a lot of different places, and I think we can all wear our little MUA makeup artist crowns proudly and happily wherever we go. Disclaimer number 2, based on my knowledge, which can totally be wrong, is that there is no governing body for makeup artists. Like there's not a Makeup Artists Institute of America that you go and you take a test and you get certified and you have this license that's recognized across the nation, and this is what makes you stand out and what puts you in this upper echelon of makeup artists. That's not a thing. Now, if you want to become an esthetician or you want to focus more on hair, there are actual programs that you can get a license for, and those are things that actually become required for those areas of work, but that's not the case for makeup artists. So first and foremost, you don't need a certification to gain credibility and to become a makeup artist and to become a professional makeup artist. However, it doesn't hurt, and this is why. Number 1 is network. This is something that I think most people will recommend regardless of the area of study that you're in, but if you go to a class and have an instructor and have some sort of structure, as opposed to just watching a bunch of YouTube videos and learning on your own and being self-paced and self-taught. However, I think they're both equally important. I do think that if you have the network of being in a class and being in a classroom along with other people who are in the same place as you, both career-wise or on different levels, that experience and that proximity to those people is hands down going to be helpful, whether you think it is or not. Your fellow classmates, your instructors, the other administrators at the school, literally anybody else within that institute can be a connect for you down the line that could help really further you in your career, and that's something to really keep in mind. Now, not everybody needs to be a total extrovert by any means, but I do think if you're able to put yourself outside of your comfort zone or in your comfort zone if you are an extrovert, when you're in these kind of settings, it's going to be really helpful. I realize it's almost like a sorority. Like there are a couple people that I went to school with that since we've graduated and since we've finished our course, we've reached out to each other and given work to each other and also been able to work together. So having those relationships with people that you've started out with, that you've spent time with, that you know their skill levels and you know their experience, you know what their strong suits are, only makes it easier for you to recommend other people. Let's say if you're not able to take a job down the line, or if you're able to bring other people into a job, you have a resource group that you can pull from that you're comfortable with, rather than just being like, hey internet, I need help, send somebody. You know who to send. Getting comfortable networking is one of the most beneficial things I can recommend to anybody and to myself. As long as we all shall live, it really is what makes the world go wrong. Go round. It makes it go right, I think. The whole phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I do think you gotta know some stuff, but when you know some people, it makes a really big difference. A quick personal anecdote, actually one of the first jobs that I got after receiving my certification, I was asked to do makeup for who's now a good friend, her wedding. And so she wanted me to do her makeup, but she had a whole bridal team. She had mother and family of the groom, and so it ended up being almost 6 people. And if you know anything about the day of a wedding, there should be There not isn't always, but there should be a pretty straight set schedule. And especially when it comes to makeup and hair and like really getting ready, you want to be as efficient as possible. And for it being one of my first jobs, I was nervous out of my mind, but also wasn't the best at time management. I didn't know what to spend the most time on and what needed the most focus, whether it was skin or eyes or whatever. So I hadn't really grown into my flow just yet, and I knew that I was going to need help regardless because there were too many people in too short of a time frame on this woman's wedding day, which is for most people the most important day of their life. I didn't want to screw it up. So I felt really confident in a girlfriend of mine that I met through school. We had worked together in class, and I knew her experience. Again, I knew her skill set, and I was able to reach out to her and say, hey, can you come help me on this wedding? And she did. We split the work. Everybody looked beautiful, and we all left within the time that we needed, and it would have taken me clearly double the time if I'd done it myself. Network is very important. Kind of piggybacking off of that, number 2 is the ability to get to know your instructors. Usually these are people with some sort of industry experience, and what will be really important is learning about what specific niche they've found themselves in. Learning more about what they've done in their career can really help shed some light on specific areas and directions that you may want to go, especially as you're starting out, because that's one of the number one things that people ask me, especially other makeup artists or more seasoned makeup artists that I talk to. They're like, what do you want to get into? What's your thing? Do you want to do editorial? Do you want to do wedding? Do you want to do fashion? Do you want to do music videos? Do you want to do film? And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want to do everything. So the beauty of going to school and learning from your instructors, if they're decent people and have decent experience, then you'll be able to say, hey, I know this person. I know that they've done this for 15 years, and they started out working at MAC, and they ended up working on all these music videos and have connections to J-Lo and whatever. That leads back to number 1. Their experience can help you decide what direction you want to go and what you may want to learn more about and what you want to pursue, but it also shows up in their instructing technique and their style, and when they're walking you through a certain look or a certain makeup technique, they'll be able to show you, this is how I do it, or this is how I did it on so-and-so, or this is how I did it in this experience. And that only gives you more context for the skill that you're learning, and it just makes things easier. For instance, one of my instructors had a lot of experience doing music videos, and she was able to share her real-life experience with certain products and certain makeup techniques, because the makeup that you might do for a music video could be completely different than something you would do for a fashion editorial photo shoot, because the lighting is different, the person is doing something different, like they're actually sweating and you need more long wear makeup. These are all little technical things that obviously you can find online if you get really dedicated and really focused in your search, but having that real life experience shared with you is just something that will be really helpful down the line, regardless of the route that you go. Number 3, and you'll realize these are all kind of tying in together, but just the access that you gain to not only people, but also tools that you may not have access to outside of the classroom. Some courses, and I'm being pretty general here, I haven't taken every beauty course ever, but I'm speaking from my experience, so the course that I took required us to have a pretty small and basic amount of makeup and like a makeup kit before we actually took more of the class, just because we needed some of our own tools. However, we were able to build off of that and use whatever the class and the school provided when we were in class and when we were actually in the building. So if a certain assignment required us to use different pigments and different colors that maybe we didn't have ourselves, or if you just didn't have the means to create the kit yourself from the beginning, you had access to those foundations and eyeshadows and blushes and everything that the school had that were available for everybody to use. They were clean and sanitized, don't worry. But we had access to those products that maybe we just wouldn't have tried on our own, maybe brands we haven't even heard of before. Like when I first started, I knew of the main commercial makeup and everything that you could find at Sephora and Ulta, but there's a whole different set of stage makeup and like bigger production makeup that's been around for a lot longer that I realized was used a lot in these people's makeup kits that I never even heard of. So I was able to try those, and you also just get to see what your other classmates are using, and you can kind of swap and try and hear what other people's experiences are before you actually make those purchases, because I think that's one of the most daunting parts of going to beauty school, especially starting out from the very beginning. If you don't have a very extensive kit, if you're not able to buy a lot, or you just don't even know where to start, it at least gives you access and you know, the ability to sample and try things that other people are trying or that the school is providing before you make that purchase. So again, it just helps you be a little more well-rounded and start off on a good foot. Also, if your school happens to be kind of multimedia, like the one I went to had a photography class and a photo editing class and an advanced makeup and a special effects, body makeup, and barber and hairstyling. Like, they had a little bit of everything. Not only did it give me access to all of those people, again, network, that's really important, and the more diverse of a crowd you know, because if you want to work on photo shoots, you're going to work with photographers and stylists and hairstylists and photo editors. Like, you're going to be around all of these people. The more you know, the more you'll be able to work with them down the line potentially, but also they have tools and experience that you'll be able to use at some point. It's just a guarantee, and it's always really helpful to know more people than less. Number 4 is that you get to try different techniques and you get exposed to different styles that maybe you wouldn't have come across on your own. For example, before I started school, I wasn't really very adventurous when it came to practicing makeup on myself and on my friends. I really just wanted to get better at the style of makeup that I liked. So when it came to a certain eye look that I saw, I would try and find multiple eye looks like that so that I could have variations and try different color combos, but it all looked the same and I knew very much what my style was. But that also meant that I followed like 50 people that all had the same style and the same aesthetic and the same experience doing the same thing, because I was so focused on having this thing, right? While I think having a narrow focus is really good and finding a niche is important because that's just what you can become known for, I do think that having some versatility is always going to be beneficial, especially when you're learning, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to spend a year doing reptilian makeup on people just because you can say, oh, I know how to do this. But if you go through a course, like for instance, we had a week where we had to do 1920s style makeup. First of all, I didn't even know what that actually looked like, but I loved that I was able to learn the makeup of this style. I learned what makeup was popular and what the focuses of that makeup era were, because it wasn't always about brows and contour, you know, it was more about skinny little plump lips and really thin arched eyebrows. So I not only was more familiar with a very specific style from a very specific era, but practicing it on myself and on my peers through homework and different assignments, I was able to stretch myself a little bit more. And maybe I'm just saying because I was not very adventurous, it's more specific to me, but I'm sure some of you out there have similar experience, because it can be intimidating to try something completely different. And that's the beauty of makeup, is that it can change your face. And I just wasn't used to actually changing the shape of my face and blocking out my eyebrows and drawing new ones in. And having that experience is only going to be beneficial, especially as you grow and especially as you try different genres and want to work on different sets and with other people. You could be hired for a job where they want you to do no makeup, which means this person is going to look like they're not wearing makeup, but you've just enhanced little things here and there, but you could only have experience doing full beat, matte, full coverage foundation and totally beat brows and whatever that is, like completely different worlds. So the more you're able to stretch yourself and have someone critique your work and give you pointers like your instructors and your peers, the better you'll be and the better off you'll be as you try different things down the road. On to number 5 and my personal favorite, that is pro discounts. So important. There are some beauty brands out there who offer sometimes significant discounts to professional makeup artists. Now, to be a professional makeup artist, again, like I said at the beginning, you don't have to be certified, but a lot of time when you're applying to these pro discounts, and I recommend just, if you're interested in a specific brand or use a lot of a product from a specific brand, check out their website and they'll usually have some sort of tab for pro membership, pro discount. If not, message their customer support. Usually you can have some sort of conversation about that. However, when you do apply, it's almost like when you're getting your license or something, they will ask for multiple forms of verification that you are who you say you are and you do what you say you do. So a lot of times that means a portfolio of sorts, a website, your Instagram, depending on the seriousness of the brand. Sometimes they're very prestigious and they're like, we'll only accept these kinds of information and this kind of verification. And sometimes Instagram pages don't make it. So that's for another video. Invest in a website. I have to do the same thing for myself. Anyway, in my experience, a certification goes quite a long way. And once you finally get these discounts, especially once you're able to find the slew of brands that offer them and you apply to all of them just because, go for it, most of the time you're going to get like 40% off or 30% off. And every little bit helps, especially if you already know trying to create a makeup kit that you will use on your clients that is full of products that you love or that you're proud of, that you're confident in. It requires money. And not only is it an upfront investment, it's something that you constantly have to invest in as you use up products, as products expire, as things break. You're always spending money on product in some way, shape, or form at some point. It's just how it goes. It's usually just the way it is. And if you happen to be a beauty addict like me, it's a very fun and euphoric experience, but it costs money and that hurts deeply sometimes. Very deeply. So if you like the products from or just need to shop at a MAC, a NARS, a Makeup Forever, a Charlotte Tilbury, you can apply and get maybe 40% off, 30% off. Every little bit helps when you're trying to branch out, especially if you're newer and especially if you don't have a lot of money to spend and invest in more high-end names and names that are more recognized. This will definitely help, and I can't recommend it enough because not only will it help at those specific brands, but there are also a lot of beauty retailers around the nation specific to professionals, whether you're in hair or makeup, aesthetics, anything like that. They are these pro stores. These discounts will apply at those stores too, and you have access to a lot of sanitary items, like you can get a lot of alcohol, you can get brush cleaner, things that you maybe won't get at a regular makeup store that will really help you go a long way. So I highly recommend it. If you go through an entire makeup course and you're like, you know what, I'm working full-time and I just want to do makeup part-time, or I'm going to school for something else and I want to do this on the side, or you want to do this full-time, but whatever excuses you may come up with or whatever real life stuff you're going through that doesn't allow you to pursue it wholeheartedly, which is totally okay, but I totally believe in you. I think one of the main benefits from all of this, aside from networking, which I will tell you you need to do until I cannot anymore, is pro discounts, because you just get a lot of access, whether it's early access or exclusive access to certain products at certain times. Really, the discount just goes a really long way. And a lot of times it's not just the discount. These companies, especially the ones that are founded by makeup artists, have programs that are set to help fellow makeup artists. So they'll set up different master classes and calls and just other exclusive content for makeup artists that I think will be endlessly valuable, and I highly, highly recommend it. So that wraps up my short general list of why I valued my time going through school. I don't think it's for everybody. I think that's the case regardless of the type of school and vocation and profession you choose in your life. I'm all for taking your own path. However, if it's something you're considering, please take into consideration what I've shared, and I have so much more and so many things that I feel like I was kind of already blabbering about. But if you have any other questions about my experience or just what you may be anticipating for yourself, please let me know in the comments below. I am so ready to have that conversation with you because it's been almost 2 years, I think, since I've gone through my course, and the experience that I've gotten since then because of that has been worth it in and of itself. It's totally priceless, and I do think that there are schools out there that are available that have payment plans, that have decent prices, that are of all different time and commitment levels. Like the one I went to was actually only a couple months long and it met on a weekly basis. There are others that are more full-time that last a year long. So there's a lot that's out there, and especially now that a lot of things are happening online that you don't need to be in person for, there's still a lot of value in having that proximity and those conversations with people that are going to help teach you and help shape you and put you in a direction that you may want to go, and just shed some light on stuff you might be curious about. Again, because there are so many people who are in this world of makeup artistry, especially if you find yourself like me here in LA, it may seem overwhelming and oversaturated, or if you're in a smaller town and you want to come to LA or a place like it where there's just entertainment and stuff is happening, I want all of us to know, myself included, this is a reminder, there's work for everybody. There will always be work for everybody, and the more we can share and give back to each other, the better we all become. And that's stuff that I've learned watching so many different celebrity makeup artists, people who are doing Issa Rae's makeup and Rosie Huntington Whiteley and Ashley Graham, everybody under the sun. These are people who have been doing it, and they say it so much more than I ever thought that they would, because I thought it was like yes, I'm just gonna keep doing my celebrity clients and there's no space for you. They're like, no, come, learn, do, grow. There's enough for everybody. And the people who are really about it will show you that they're about it. Not everybody that you come across is going to want to help you, and that's okay. Like I said earlier, and maybe it was one too many times, but I will never not say it. I think there will always be value in stepping just a little bit outside your comfort zone. This is mainly for the people who are maybe more introverted or just less confident, especially if you're starting out in a new space. Like, you could be 18, you just graduated, you don't want to go to college, but you want to do makeup. Or I know people who are 50 and are doing a career shift and they have zero experience, but they know that this is what they're passionate about. I think the better off we are when we're honest about where we are and what we want, and reach out to people that have experience in the fields and in the space that we see ourselves in, because it will only help us grow and help us make up our minds and get better as we go. So that's all I got to say. I know it's a lot. I feel like I could go on and on and on, like I already said. So I'm gonna leave it there. Again, talk to me in the comments, ask me whatever questions you have, or share the experience that you have. Maybe you actually hated your experience, which is totally fair, because I have friends who have not loved it. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It really means the world, and especially when I can spew and go crazy about stuff that I get excited about. Clearly this video, it means a lot to be able to share that space with you. So please take care, be well. I'll see you in the next video. Love you so much. Bye.